Hmm. All right. All right. We'll get started in a second here. All right. Welcome to this live stream for home service companies. If you're a home service business owner or you are looking at starting a home services company, I love to give tips on how to scale your home service company and get more profit out of your business, not just more revenue, but also more profit. And so today we're going to talk about selling on value instead of selling based on price. So often when we're selling in home services, we're selling on price. I'm the cheapest in town, or I can do it for less. Anytime when you're selling on price, it's a race to the bottom, right? And it's something that people will they'll buy from you, but they're only going to buy from you as long as you are able to be the lowest provider of price. And unfortunately, that can change pretty quickly. So if you're running a home service business and you're not making as much profit as you would like to be, your team is not getting paid enough. You're not able to have the right trucks. You're not able to, provide the best services because you don't have the tools and the technology and the equipment because maybe you're not making any money in your business. And this way of selling through value instead of selling through price is a great way to get your revenues up without really increasing any expenditures, right? If you need to increase your revenue without increasing expenditures, this is how you're going to essentially increase profit, right? There's only a few ways to increase profit: either sell more, right, to more people, or sell more to more people, or sell more to your customers that you have, right? And to me, obviously, you want to expand how many people you're selling to. But if you increase how much you sell to someone, you increase the average ticket, you're going to usually increase profit margin without really adding any expenses. And I want you to keep in mind that um, there's a way to do this where you're not ripping people off. You're still charging a fair price, because what you're going to be doing is you're actually going to be upselling and providing them better solutions based on what they need and the pain that they maybe even don't realize that they have. And so this is going to be, kind of a master class on how to make more money in your business without really any additional expenditures and how to sell on value. So, first thing I'll touch on is this concept of a menu of services. Um, a lot of times when we're selling at home services, we go to someone's home and we sell them what they said that they need, right? You go into their home to do a carpet cleaning job or a roofing job or an HVAC job or whatever it is. Um, and you're not thinking about selling solutions. They need their carpets cleaned, but perhaps their couch is also dirty. Maybe their air ducts are haven't been cleaned, and they don't realize the effects that that's having on them. And I want you to keep in mind when you go to someone's home to sell a job that you booked. Let's say again you're in the carpet cleaning business. You go to clean carpets. You already paid for the ad. You already paid for the call center to answer the phone. You already paid for the trucks, fuel to get there and the time of the technician to go. And you're any dollar you make on top of the original revenue booked is very profitable, right? Because you already paid for these expenditures. So increasing your average ticket is key. So how do you do that? Well, I'm going to start with a little story that I thought was really relevant, based on a book that I was reading on home services. And it was talking about a tire shop. And I'm going to tell you that story really quick. So, um, a woman went to the tire shop needing tires. She was a single mom. It was the morning and she was frantic. She got to the tire shop and said, I need new tires. I got to get to work. I got to get my kids to school. And we got to do this now. And so the smart technician at the tire shop, or whatever you want to call the person, salesperson, essentially started with, hey, thanks for coming in. I'm so sorry to hear that you're going through such a stressful day. I'm glad that we're going to take care of this tire to help you, get on with your day. I know you mentioned that getting your kids to school is really important and getting you to work. We've got you covered. We're going to actually be able to get you there. If the tires something we can change in 5 minutes and get you on your way, we'll happily do that. If not, we'll get you an Uber. So don't worry. No matter what, we're going to pay for an Uber to get you to work and your kids to school. And if that's the case, we can always bring the car to you later when it's done. But let's go take a look at the tire. The salesperson looked at the tire and then asked the woman, hey, would you mind if I asked you a couple questions? And what he did was he asked her, hey, I know you mentioned you're a single mom, and is this your only car? And the woman said yes. And he and then asked, I see there's 73,000 miles on this. Have you had this serviced? And it turned out that she actually had forgotten to get like an oil change. All of the tires were bare. Really, they needed new brake pads. There was all kinds of things that this car needed. And so what he said was, I'm just curious, how do you go to work? And she mentioned that she drives on, the turnpike, and said that she actually takes the lane, the HOV lane, where you can have multiple people in the car, or you could be in it when you have multiple people in the car, because she was always driving her kids around. So she was able to, drive in the lanes for multiple people. And what he realized was this car really wasn't safe. She was driving it, not realizing that any of these tires could blow out at any time on the turnpike, right? In the HOV lane with their kids in the car. And as he started to ask more and more questions, basically, they already had the tire sale, right? She came there to get the tire. But what he said was, look, again, we've got an Uber on the way. You're going to be able to get to work. We're going to be able to get your kids to school as well. You go with them. We'll take you to school and then you to work. And then we're going to actually take care of everything else in this car for you if you'd like to. And we'll come back with the car, pick you up, and then be able to get you on your way to pick your kids up later today. Would that work? And the woman said, that would be great. I didn't realize how many different things that I needed done. And so what he did was he then showed her a menu of options, right? And what they showed was, look, we've got one option. It's, we can actually take care of all 4 tires. We'll do an oil change. We're going to take care of these brake pads, do a bunch of alignment and work. And then also for the next, 10 years or next 5 years of this car, we're going to be able to have you come in. You get free oil change 4 times a year or whatever the amount. It's all covered in this package. We've got other packages as well, but this one is going to cover you completely. This car will be reliable, and that's $5,000. And what the technician did, or the salesperson did, is they didn't prejudge her, right? That she was not doing service, or that she was a single mom, or anything. They didn't think about selling with beliefs, right? Maybe like beliefs that they thought that was a lot of money. They just showed her the top solution and then provided the price. And rightfully so, the woman said, that's a lot more money than I thought. I'm a single mom. What are my other options? And then the salesperson went down to the next option, which was we can do the tires and the oil change and a few others. And, whatever the details are, it ended up being like $3,000 for that package. We also have another option for $2,000. We have another option where we just fix the tires, just fix the one tire. That's $89. And so on. And what they did was they gave a menu of options. People will never pick the bottom option. If they're given 6 options, typically they'll pick in the middle. Now, this woman actually thought about it for a second, and she said, you know what? I'm sick of this car having problems. I want it to be reliable. Do you take credit card? I'll do the top option. Now, that went from an $89, ticket to a $5,000 ticket, to someone that was willing and able to pay for these services up front, knowing that they could kind of get insurance premium, right? If as long as she paid now, she can get these oil changes, get the tire changes, do all of that in one shot. Now, that was the first time that a tire shop had sold something like that, because there's actually a franchise chain where the owner came up with that solution of selling top down. You'd be surprised when you give people more options than they originally came in for, how often when you solve more pain problems, that they'll actually go for that option. What I thought was interesting about that is, how often do you think to yourself that something is too much or too little of a price based on your own preconceived notions? Now, this woman, it turned out the reason why she wasn't taking care of those tires wasn't because she didn't have money. It was because she was a high level working person with 2 kids. She didn't have the time resources to even think about going there and getting that stuff done. And when this service provider was able to provide her with solutions and show that he really cared, that was going to give her different options, she was interested in going forward. He didn't prejudge or label. And what's interesting is when you give those menus of options, what you can do is you can essentially give the options, and then as you go down the kind of the ladder, you're going to say something like, what should we do here? We've got option 1, 2, or 3. Which one would you like to do? What should we do? And what's so interesting is what they teach in this kind of methodology is, people ask which one is the best. And people always, when they're selling the wrong way and they're selling not on value, they'll start to kind of like undercut themselves. You can go with the lower one. And the real answer to that question is, which one's the best? The top one. That's why it's the most money, right? It is the best one. Now, is it the best one for them? That's something we have to figure out. But first thing to keep in mind with this before we talk about just giving the options was notice that the salesperson didn't just say, "Oh, you need a new tire? Let's get you a new tire." Right? What they did was they said, "All right, we'll get you a new tire. Don't worry. I know you're big concerned about getting on time. We're going to get you an Uber." And then ask questions about when were how long you had the car, where are you driving the car, you know, what roads you're driving, turn out the turnpike, which lane. I drive in the HOA lane. They knew things about this person to be able to then say, "Hey, I want you to be safe. They'll get these kids to school on time, wherever you guys are going, and don't get concerned. But some of these tires, they could blow out at any time, and I want to give you a solution." Instead of just changing the tire and being off on their way, there's a substantial difference in doing that versus asking the right questions and then providing a solution. I'll give you another example in home services. So let's say I come to your home and I'm in the house and I ask you, let's say we're doing HVAC. We're looking at your HVAC system, and I say to you, "Hey, like how long have you lived in this house?" And we're chatting, and you're like, "I've been here, 10 years." "Oh, that's great. From the area?" "Yeah, I actually grew up in the area." "Oh, that's amazing. How long have you been here?" 40 years. "Wow, must have been pretty different here, right?" Pretty different experience. "Oh, Dan, so different. There were way less houses in this town back then." "That's great. And just curious, what do you do for work?" And they're telling you about what they do for work. Now I'm going to switch over to technical questions. Um, Curious, you guys don't have any dust here, any dust issues here, right? And they'll say, "Well, no, actually, we do have a lot of dust. My wife's always complaining about it." Now, what did I do there? I asked a question, but I went for the no instead of the yes. I didn't say, "You guys have a lot of dust here, right?" Because first of all, that's offensive, right? Like you're in their home and you're making them uncomfortable. I said, "You guys don't have any dust issues here, right?" And then the answer is, "No, we actually do." Which Chris Voss teaches a great training on this around the idea of getting people to say no instead of yes. So like if I get to someone's house, I'm not going to say, "Is it okay if I park my truck here?" The answer to that would be yes. I'm actually going to say, "Hey, is it an issue that I park my truck here?" You get a no. Because what you're doing is they feel out of control when they have an issue in their home. They want someone to come there and take control of the situation and give them the options, but then they want to be given back the control. And when you ask someone something where their answer is able to be a no, you're putting them in control. And so I'd say like, "Hey, is it an issue that I park my truck here?" And they would say no. And then I'd say, another example would be like, "Hey, would you be opposed to me just going upstairs to check out, some other things?" Obviously, they're okay with me going upstairs if I came to the house to do a job, but I'm not just going to assume it and go upstairs, right? I'm going to ask them for permission, and I'm going to do it in a way where they can say no, right? "No, it's not an issue." So I'd say, "Hey, is it an issue if I go upstairs to check on something?" Another example when we're signing a contract, I would never say to someone, "Are you ready to get started today?" That's like sales 101. I'd say, "Hey, would you be opposed to getting started today?" "No, I'm not opposed," right? Or "Yes, I'm opposed." And then we can talk through it. Getting a no is key. And so, I'll give you a great example as in this dialogue in the home. What I would say to the homeowner is, "You guys don't have any dust issues here." And their answer would be, uh, maybe it's no, right? And guess what? If they don't have dust issues, and I didn't say you guys have dust issues here, like offending them, I'm saying you guys don't have any dust issues here, right? Seems like you do a great job cleaning. "No, Dan, actually we do. We do have dust issues. My wife's talking about it all the time." What I would say would be, "Oh, it's interesting. Did you hear about the new, air filters that have come out? It was out in Mechanic Magazine." And they'll be like, "No." Like, "Oh, well, listen, I came here to take care of the HVAC. We could talk about it another time. I don't want to be disrespectful." And the person would say, because now they're thinking about, "Wait, my home is dusty. What is this air filter?" They'd be like, "No, Dan, tell me about it." Now, what did I do though? I started off by asking them questions about them, what they do for work, how long they've been in the house, which, by the way, these are accomplishments. Been in the town for a long time. I'm talking to them on a personal level. And then I'm switching to a technical question, right? I went there for HVAC. I'm not just asking about the HVAC system, I'm asking about things in the home and finding pain. And now I'd be able to sell a solution such as changing the air, changing, fixing the air ducts or changing an air filter or doing something else related to dust because they just told me that they have dust issues. Give you another great example on this, and we'll switch topics. In our business, we have mold, right? We do a lot of mold, removing mold. Excuse me, we don't have mold, but you know what I mean. We're going to solve mold issues. Um, and I think all the time when we go to someone's home and they had mold in their house because they forgot to dry something or they neglected to dry, something that happened in their house, and now they have mold. Um, Excuse me, need a little coffee. Um, they've got mold in the home, and it's because they neglected solving something. And a lot of times when we go to the home, we'll be like, it's 7,000 to get rid of the mold. And people a lot of times are a little bit shocked by that, right? They didn't realize it'd be that amount, and that's the cost. And when insurance isn't going to pay for that situation where you neglected the home, nobody wants to pay $7,000 in the middle of Christmas, and they got all these kind of other expenses, right? And so what we found was what we'll say to someone is, in this situation, let's use just right now, for example, um, hey, I get it. $7,000 is not a small amount of money, and I understand that you probably didn't think it'd be that amount. And who wants to spend $7,000 on getting rid of mold right now? I completely understand. It's the holidays. I'm sure you got a lot of Christmas shopping and travel coming up. Why don't we do this? I think you've lived with the mold for the past 2 months. Why don't I come back in 2 months and we'll check on it, and we'll see from there. Now, there is a chance that it could frankly get worse with neglect, but I think you guys could hold off and it wouldn't be the end of the world. Um, but I do want to ask, like, are you guys having any issues sleeping yet? And I would wait there. Now, what did I just do? What I did was I said, hey, I understand where you're coming from. You didn't want to spend $7,000. I've been there, right? It's the middle of the holidays. Let me come back in 2 months, right? I'm kind of like reasoning with them. And what I'm doing is I'm disarming them. And what I'm saying is, I'll come back in 2 months. Now, there is a risk, right? Because I would be frustrated if someone didn't tell me that there's a risk that it's going to become more expensive, which is just the truth. Right? Mold grows. If I come back in 2 months, it may grow, but you might be all right. You waited this long, and I'll just come back. Now their guard is down. And then the most important, most powerful question I asked is, are you having trouble sleeping yet? Now, I'm not saying, are you guys having trouble sleeping? Because they may not yet be. But mold will cause sleep issues usually. And so what I'm doing is I'm not saying like you guys are going to have trouble sleeping. You better do this now. Like nobody wants that. That's aggressive. What I'm saying is, hey, just curious, are you guys having any trouble sleeping yet? And by the way, that answer is a no, right? No, we're not, or yes, we are. But I'm not saying are you guys having trouble sleeping? Um, I'm saying yet. And the word yet is creating this element of, wait a minute, should I be? Like, what do you mean yet? Like, if I went in someone's house and I finagled something, I said, hey, is this giving you trouble yet? They'd be like, well, no, but why are you asking yet? What should it be giving me trouble? Is it going to give me trouble? And what you're doing is you're creating urgency, you're creating scarcity, you're creating a need to do something to solve a pain that they didn't even maybe realize that they have. Now, this isn't to manipulate people, right? When they realize, wait, I have been trouble sleeping, and you're like, oh, well, have you always had trouble sleeping? They're like, no. Well, how long have you been having trouble sleeping? I don't know, 2 months. Well, maybe it's the mold, right? You've had mold for 2 months. Now the person is going to want to do the mold. They want that mold out of their house now, right? Now they're like, oh my God, I'm breathing in this mold. I can't sleep. Now it's just truly the $7,000 price tag that they don't want to pay. And that's when I would ask, hey, let me ask you a question. Like, if there was a way to get this mold out without it being $7,000, like, would you guys move forward? Do you see the value in getting out of the house? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, let me talk to the owner. I don't know if we could do it, but maybe we could finance this. Like, if we could get this down to a payment, would that be something you'd look at? And they're like, yeah. And then you go, and we have in our business, we have consumer financing. So we'd come back and be like, hey, like, you know what? We could finance this over 24 months. It's X% interest rate. Why don't we just get it started now? And it'll be like a monthly payment. I don't know about you, but if I was the homeowner, I would absolutely take advantage of that. But not when you lead with it, right? Not when you're like, oh, it's 7,000. I could go down in price, or I'll go down to financing. They don't have pain yet, right? Before you solve the issue of finding their pain that they are having trouble sleeping at, they're thinking like, dude, I could live with this mold. Get out of my house, right? You have to create urgency through finding pain in a way that's not too invasive. So I'll give you a couple examples of this. I'm pretty inspired by this because my own experiences today. Um, we're moving to a new apartment on the first, and we're doing some furniture shopping today. And I was fascinated that there was one store here in New York. We walked in, and I couldn't believe that the people, they were all at their desks, and I can't explain, but they made me feel like, what are you doing here? And I'm like, I don't know. It's a store. Like, I'm here to buy things. And they're like, well, what are you looking for? And no one got up. No one greeted me. I mean, these are little things, right? And I was like, I'm looking for a circular couch, fits the apartment. And they're like, we don't sell those. We only sell rectangular. And then we kind of looked at each other, and that was it. And I'm like, all right, thank you. And then I walked out and I literally was like angry. Like, what kind of store is this to treat you like? I felt like sorry for walking into your store. And I was just so fascinated at like what the experience could have been. Think about the difference. We walked in. They said, "Hey, how you doing? Nice to meet you. Welcome to our store. What brings you in today?" And I start chatting. Where are you guys from? We're from the city. Where do you live? I live over here. What do you do for work? I do this. We start chatting. We're talking about sports, Christmas, whatever. Then they said, "What are you looking for?" And I would have said, "I'm looking for a circular couch." And then a smart salesperson would say, "Well, we actually don't sell those here, but why are you looking for a circular couch?" And then perhaps my answer would have not made sense. Maybe I don't need a circular couch, but they were bad salespeople that didn't do anything to find pain or to find solutions. And, it's so interesting because then I went to a different store and had the opposite. The guy had been selling beds, was looking at beds. Um, for 30 years. And I was fascinated by the first thing he did. How'd you lay down on the top bed, the best bed? And then you went down. And then all of a sudden, the best bed, like although too expensive, you had the cheapest bed. You didn't want that either. And you find yourself somewhere in the middle. But people will always choose when given a menu of options. Usually, sometimes they'll choose the economical, sometimes they'll choose the top, but they'll probably fall somewhere in the middle. So I just think it's fascinating because when you go into these homes, most home service providers, they're going with one price. They're trying to solve one thing. They're in, they're out. That's it. Their ticket's $200. And they left all this opportunity. I mean, who here, you have someone come to your house. How often do you have contractors come to your house? You don't want to. You have to take the time. You got to wait for them. They got to come. You got to deal with them. You got to chat. If someone comes in my house and they're nice and they're good and they can solve more things for me, and they already came, they already have my credit card on file. And they're like, "Hey, you want me to hang that TV too?" Like, yeah, I don't want to deal with these things. A lot of people don't want to deal with these things, especially this generation and the ones coming up. So it's like you got to go in and you got to provide value, and don't just go in to sell the one thing that you came in for. All the profit is in those upsells. All the profit is in, and again, it's not upselling where you're like hitting people over the head with like things they don't want or need. It's selling them things that they actually do need, that they're actually saying thank you. And they leave you a review because like, this person was great. They solved my issues. But you do that through powerful questions. You do that through providing a menu of options. You do that through not prejudging people by giving them one option at the top and then working your way down. Because all of a sudden, those second, third, fourth options seem great comparative to the top. Or some people just want the top and they end up going with the top. It's important that you understand this kind of methodology. When you're selling, you never should just respond to people's, challenges with answers. You should respond to questions. So I'll give you one more example of this. So um, let's say I go into a home and I don't know, I'm doing a gutters. I don't know, making it up. And I'm like, it's $500. I'm making prices up. And I'm like, it's forget gutters, it's something else. It's $500 and it's going to take us, 2 weeks to do this, whatever the service is. What I found is that, you know, you'll go to someone and they'll be like, "Well, I didn't want to pay $500. I thought this was gonna be 250, and I thought you could do it in a week." And what I'm interested in when people give that kind of response, which is basically saying, "I want a lower price and quicker time," that I just ask people how they expect me to do that. Not in a mean way, but what I would say was like, "Hey, I appreciate you sharing that with me. We did 3 houses today, it was 500, and we do it in 2 weeks. That's, the time to get the technicians and everything else. I appreciate that you're asking, and it never hurts to ask. I'd be happy to go to my boss and call him and ask to do it for half the price and half the time. We did a lot of houses today, not that way. So just walk me through, what should I say to him? Like, how am I supposed to do that?" And if the person is asked how they expect you to go to your boss, right? And if I owned the company, I'd be like, I'd say the boss, whatever. Um, the controller, the CFO, my wife, whatever. And you would say, how am I supposed to do that? And if the person who suggested an option realized how crazy their option is to do it half the time and half the price, they might say like, you know what, I don't know. And then it's like, it's easier to solve that. Or you might find that they say, "Well, Dan, like in my business, I'm in restoration. Like, well, my brother's a plumber. I was hoping that maybe you could do it for less and do it a little faster. And in exchange, I would connect you to him. I know that would be a good referral relationship for me. And I'd say, you know what, great. Let's get your brother on the phone. Let me chit chat with him a bit. And then, maybe we could look at doing that. Would you do that? I know I would do it for half the price and half the time if I could get a referral relationship out of it. I could get something out of the interaction. Or they might say, hey, man, I really need this done. It's not really about the price. I actually just really need this done faster. And I'd rather pay you more to get it done faster. People sometimes are willing to pay you more to get the results that they need. But when you just respond back with an answer instead of asking questions on why or how they want something or how you're supposed to do something, you're putting the control in their place. And remember, I told you when people have an issue in their home, they want someone to come in who's knowledgeable and nice that can take control of the situation, but then when given the options, put them back in control. They don't want to feel out of control. And that's where this menu of options is really through premium pricing. You have your premium price and then your prices below. And you have options that give them more solutions than they originally thought they needed, is how you're going to get higher upsells, even if you don't get the top ticket, which isn't going to happen as often. But if you're originally going in for an $89 job or a $200 job, you're probably going to walk out with a $300 or $400 job. And that extra $100 or $200 is all profit, in the sense that you already paid the gas, you already paid the advertising, you already paid the person to go there, right? That's how you grow your business. You don't just grow by selling more. You grow by obviously cutting expenses. That's one way to make more money, right? By selling more solutions to more people, and then also selling more to the customers you already have. And how you sell to customers that you already have more things is you find the pain that they have that they didn't know they had, and then you give them solutions to that pain, and you create urgency on why they should solve that solution. For example, they didn't know they were having trouble sleeping because they had mold. They didn't know that they were having trouble, breathing because they had, dust in their air ducts. They had trouble, having, for example, with me looking at beds, like I didn't even know I needed a bed that was cooler technology to be cooler at night, not sleep hot. I didn't even realize I was sleeping hot and could sleep cold. Now, do I necessarily need that? I don't know. But that salesperson was great at creating like a need of something that I didn't even know that I even thought about. And now guess what? I'm thinking about it. And we didn't buy the bed yet, but it's like, maybe you should, didn't get me that salesman, but you know what I mean? Like when people create solutions for you that solve problems that you knew you had or didn't realize that you had, it's a huge value add, and they're usually willing to pay a lot more. And the last thing, if you're in home services, leave your mom in the truck. What I mean by that, all that stuff that you were taught as a kid, that you have these beliefs, they're limiting beliefs. Like if you're a technician and you're doing sales for a painting company in North New Jersey, and you're going in a house thinking like $10,000 is way too much money for painting. I never heard of that. My mom told me that's expensive. My family said that's expensive. And you're walking into this mansion. That's nothing to them. Your idea of something expensive is not what your customer thinks. Don't sell from your customer's perspective. Don't sell from your own perspective. Sell from your customer's perspective. I'd be walking in saying it's only $10,000. It's only $10,000, right? You're selling to someone that $10,000 is nothing to. Right? I've had times where something seemed like so much money to me and now is nothing. And then other things are like way more money to me and someday they'll be nothing, right? It's all relevant. But you have to understand that you're not selling to yourself. What you would do or what you would buy is not what that person would buy. I can't stand when people make those like kind of judgments. If someone wants to spend more money on home services because they want to paint the house and they don't want to do it themselves, that's okay. They're probably wealthy for a reason. They've learned to delegate things, or they've learned that they make more money, trading money for time versus the way that a lot of us brought up, in middle or upper middle class or not, is, instead of spending money, I'm going to save I'm going to save money by doing it myself. A lot of wealthy people, they don't want to do that. So when you're a technician or you're sales, you're going into a home, don't start using your own limiting beliefs to start to like undercut yourself. Don't go with the lowest option. Well, if I were you, I'd do the lowest option. You don't know that. You don't know that. I'm not saying I'll rip people off and overcharge them. What I'm saying is give people options and let them pick. Don't prejudge. You never know when you go in and you provide solutions, how many people are going to want to take your premium option. I'll give you one more example on this as we wrap up. I like to think about the dentist. It's called a value ladder. So if you go to the dentist, right? Let's say the dentist advertises, free teeth cleaning. And their bait is to get you in the door is free teeth cleaning. They're running ads and it's costing them money and they're getting you through the door and it's a free cleaning. And they know that if you come in for the free cleaning, a certain percentage will buy the upsell. So let's say I go in for the free cleaning and the dentist does the cleaning and my teeth look nice and they show me the little mirror and they provided value, right? They made me happy. Teeth look great. They say, your teeth look great. Just curious though, have you ever had your teeth whitened? No. Oh, well, they look fantastic. They're pretty white. But here's a photo of what I think we could get them to, a little image or something. If we were to do this free clean, it's only $200. Would you like to do it? You're already here. And guess what? I'm now doing $200 cleaning. The cleaning would have been $100. Now they're selling me, the cleaning was free, but they're selling me a $200, teeth whitening, which is probably not very expensive to do, but it's a dentist that has to do it, right? And so I do the teeth cleaning, and maybe they don't do it right then on the spot. Maybe I have to come back. I come back, I get the whitening. And again, they put the little shiny mirror. Now my teeth are clean from the first cleaning, and they're extra white from the whitening. And they're like, hey, it looks great. Obviously, this wouldn't be as deliberate as I'm saying it, but they'd be like, you look super white. Just one more question. Please don't be offended. Have you ever had braces? I feel like if we'd made some minute changes, you could have an even, brighter smile with Invisalign. No, what's that? Oh, it's $4,000 and we do blah, blah, blah. Next thing you know, you're getting Invisalign, right? They provided value through the white teeth, and now they're giving you Invisalign. You do that for 4 or 6 months, whatever. You get it off. They charged you $4,000. So we went from 0 to 200 to 4,000, and then you go back, and maybe they're like, "Hey, what about veneers?" And next thing you know, you're getting $15,000 worth of veneers. I'm using this as an example, but what happened was they're able to charge higher prices. They're able to give you a larger sale because they've created trust through value, and you've climbed the value ladder. Right. And after they do the $15,000 veneers, they probably have another upsell to something else. And there's someone out there that's willing to pay for it. I was just thinking about I was out to dinner with a couple last night and they were talking about someone, that we knew was buying bags, left and right. They're buying, expensive bags with no issues. And for me, that's crazy, right? For that person, you have no idea. They sold their business for millions of dollars. Like, you don't know. The point of what I'm saying, though, is if you could take away anything from this, it's don't sell based on price, sell based on value. How you sell on value is you find issues and then you give solutions and you find little ways to create urgency where people need something that they don't realize that they even needed. And then you're upselling on price, giving them solutions to things that they need. That's the way you're going to grow your business as far as profits. Stop selling on price, sell on value. We'll have more segments on this. Thanks for a lot of people on here right now. So thanks to those people for tuning in on a Sunday night. Have a great start of your week.